What's up guys, and welcome back to the Rails of Mass. Today's adventure begins right here at CP22 on the Worcester Main Line, as we begin exploring the Holliston Industrial Track. Beginning at the west end of the Framingham station platform, the Holliston Industrial Track branches south from the Worcester Main Line. At one time there was a full Y here. The third track has since been removed, but it's still obvious where it once was. A very short distance around the corner and we're approaching the next crossing at Claflin Street. At one time there was a General Motors assembly plant here in Framingham, and that's what this branch was mostly for. The General Motors plant is now gone. The property is now home to Odessa Auto Auctions. CSX doesn't use this yard for much anymore. They do have some cars stored here, as well as a jet-powered snowblower and some other track equipment. I was also surprised on this visit to find the yard being used for another purpose, but we'll get to that in a minute. We're now passing the next crossing at Hollis Street. These two crossings are actually very close together. I looked at the crossing name here many times and I wasn't sure how to say it, so we're going to leave this one alone. Now continuing south from the unpronounceable crossing, we can see the yard in the distance. It's just a short distance to the yard from here. The parallel street on the left is Arlington Street. We're now approaching the first switch at the CP yard. The large property on the top left of the screen is the former home of the General Motors assembly plant, now Odessa Auto Auctions. The yard in the center is where CSX used to unload auto racks. There's additional tracks further back. Entering the yard, we also see CSX's jet-powered snowblower. Moving deeper into the yard, we see the latest F40 PH4Cs from Rolling Stock Solutions. Units 1003 and 1005 are both receiving work here from contractors for Rolling Stock Solutions. It appears they've also brought over their own trackmobile to do work here as well. In between the trackmobile and 1005, we can also note the red cable used to bring power over for the workers. It appears the 4Cs have been very problematic since they've arrived. Following along, we can see the power cable goes all the way back to the office building. Now spinning around in the other direction, we get a closer look at the units. The side paint on 1003 really reminds me of the Solo Cups from the 90s. It also appears since our last visit some other on-track equipment has appeared here. It was originally rumored that 1003 would be sent back to Rolling Stock Solutions, but it looks like they're trying to do the work here in Framingham. It's definitely going to be interesting to see how this work progresses, as well as if future units come here for similar work as well on their way in. I wasn't expecting to find this here today, but it looks like we'll definitely be checking back here again in the future. While normally this is where the video would end, we're going to continue looking around the area. There's a bit more to see here. During our last visit here, one of you asked if we could take a deeper look at the cars that were stored further down here, and today we're going to do just that. This is really like 2 yards. All the yard tracks come down to one single track, and then fan back out into multiple tracks. It's actually a pretty interesting setup. Flying over this section of the yard, we can see CSX actually has a decent amount of cars stored here. Beyond the end of the last ring of cars, all the tracks come down to a single track again. From there, there's a yard lead long enough so you could actually make some yard movements happen here. But beyond that, the rest has been converted to trail, unfortunately. If you can't tell by the open clearing, there used to be many more tracks here. There's still a good handful left, but nothing compared to what it used to be. Now spinning around in the other direction, we're facing north again. We're now looking back towards the Framingham transload yard with the Odessa property on the right. Through the trees, you can see where the tracks once entered the General Motors plant. If you look closely down below, you can tell some of the track has not even been removed. And in other places you can tell where it still once was. There were once several tracks leading into this property. Although much of the original track has just been either paved over or removed, some of it still stands here today. Now that we've had a look around here, we're going to head back over to the yard and get one last look at the units before we leave. Finding these units being worked on here was definitely a surprise today. and we'll absolutely be back in the future to check out how things progress. I appreciate you guys for joining me on a little detoured look at 1003 and 1005 today. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss any future updates. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.